All right. So good morning, Zia.
Good morning.
And yeah, really happy to have you with us, Zia. And just for everyone who's joining in, Zia Nath is um, she's she's a biodynamic craniosacral practitioner, and she offers um, the sacred dances, but also now really synthesizing all her work in the sacred arts as well as biodynamic work. And we're here to just explore that in terms of what does this mean centering, to be centering with healing and the sacred arts. So welcome, Zia. And maybe we can begin with, you know, maybe these three modalities and just have a sense of these three modalities: biodynamic craniosacral therapy, and then looking at Gurdjieff movements and Sufi whirling. And maybe we look at them separately and then look at what are the commonalities in each of these and how they come together.
Okay, lovely. Thank you for having me over, Sandy. Lovely to share the work. I think so craniosacral therapy is really a branch of cranial osteopathy. It's coming from the osteopathy field. William Garner Sutherland and also his teacher, father of osteopathy, Andrew Taylor Stills, they were both deeply immersed in the biodynamic principles of health while using osteopathy as a tool to work with the instrument, which is our body. And that's what really, brings osteopathy, craniosacral therapy really out into like it is coming, the source is medical. It also becomes paramedical because the principles of biodynamic health and healing really start to make us look at the body in a very different way. In short, it's a hands-on therapy, very gentle, contact along the cranium, along the joints, along the spine. Practitioners are trained to finely tune in and perceive. It's palpate. It's a deeply perceptual experience, and palpate the rhythmic fluctuations of fluid movement and cerebrospinal fluid, the craniosacral rhythm. All other fluid and cellular movements in the body have a pulse, and practitioners can really tune into this rhythmic fluctuation that informs us of the vitality in the body, and thereby using it evaluatively as well as therapeutically. So it can treat a diverse range of health issues, from musculoskeletal disorders, tension patterns in the fascia, to hormonal imbalances, endocrinal issues, lifestyle stress and diseases. It can really support the body because we are looking at the body from accessing health at its source, bringing it out and letting the intelligence of the body start to heal and treat itself. So it's effective for lots of difficult issues that in society today we are dealing with. It's also very effective for moms and babies and birth trauma. Birth trauma, is something that imprints us. I see a lot of adults who are still carrying birth trauma. I work with babies who have birth trauma, and working with them in the infant stage is preventive. They're not carrying that imprint and then taking it as a disease or illness or impairments in their bodies as they're growing up. So that's beautiful work. And then I also specialize in sacred dance, and that's Gurdjieff movements, coming from the work of, master of dance, George Gurdjieff. He was an Armenian mystic. He was very much influenced by the Sufi culture, Sufi principles. He studied these movements in an ancient Sufi environment, Sufi temple. And when he got it out into the world, he gave it his name, called Gurdjieff sacred dances, he used the original temple dances, ceremonial dances that were taught in these temples as a spiritual practice. And he brought it out with him. And then he also used the same principle to develop and choreograph new dances. So they're very structured dances. It's not like a free flow, feel your body. They're very, very structured. They're precise. They're approximately 200 choreographed, structured dances. Each dance has its own music. The music and dance are composed and choreographed together. But the beautiful thing about this Gurdjieff dance movements is that it's not choreographed for pleasing an audience outside. The dances are created to bring us to a unified harmony within us. Therefore, how do we get our body to move, our limbs to coordinate, which also involves the using of our mind in understanding the choreography, then silencing the mind to surrender to the dance, and opening the heart where we can then embrace the music. So all the centers of our body, the intellectual center, the heart center, the physical center, the spiritual center, all the centers come together to work together to be able to learn the dance and practice the dance. And so the dances are created with this intention, therefore it becomes sacred dance. I've been in the practice of Gurdjieff dances now for almost 25 years. I teach it, I've performed it, and it's like, for example, yoga. You can be doing yoga for 25, 30 years and there is still so much more to do and learn. There is no finishing line. So often when I put out my courses, people ask, is this a certification course? Is this a beginner level? When will I certify? What will I achieve out of it? And I inform them, it's a lifelong journey. There is no beginning and no end. Wherever you are is a great place to just jump in. You jump out and then you can jump in again. And there is still so much to learn because there is so much depth. It takes us into our body so deeply that when we bring presence and awareness to all the different layers of the body, we notice what all comes to the surface to work. And then it is just endless. That discovery is endless and it's a beautiful journey, of course. It requires a lot of discipline and commitment. So I would not offer Gurdjieff movements to anyone who does not want to approach it with commitment. And starting to get into the practice of the Gurdjieff work really builds our ability for self-inspiration and deeper commitment to our own path. So it really brings that to us. And then there is whirling. The whirling that I've been involved in, of course, is very much influenced from the Sufi whirlers. But whirling is really as old as time. It's ancient. It's even before the Sufis were born. You find whirling in every dance discipline. All across the globe. You look at all the indigenous cultures, the ancient folk dances, turning, spinning, whirling is everywhere. It starts with a gesture to express there is an energy in our body that is really vitalizing, lifting up and bringing a spin. And it's a gesture for celebration. It's a gesture for excitement. It's a gesture for getting lost. It really is a gesture that then evolves into a dance. So whirling does not belong to anybody. It is in our body. It's natural. The Sufis did something very beautiful. They made it into a meditative dance form. Yeah. So then it stops being a dance. It becomes an active movement meditation, which is really beautiful. And I'm very inspired by the whirlers of Rajasthan, that there it's really for celebration and for performance. The Ghumrao dancers, many historians, they research and argue that maybe they were the original whirlers, and as gypsies, they kind of traveled all over. the balls of Bengal, and then we have the traveling gypsies of Central Asia. You'll see the whirling stream along all of this as a common theme, as part of their culture, really signifying something, symbolizing something much deeper. And whirling is also, of course, a centering practice. It brings us into the body and outside at the same time. It's really one of those practices where polarities are held together, contradictions dissolve, and paradoxes meet. It really is one of those, and that's why it's really special, because in one moment I can be still and gracefully moving at the same time. Gurdjieff movements, we have to come to a stillness and go into movement. Whirling, we start whirling and we start to develop a stillness. So really there's a lot of play of stillness and motion between the two sacred dance forms.
Yeah. Thank you, Zia. I mean, that was quite illustrative in terms of all these forms, and actually forms of healing, and also forms of really coming into oneself. Coming back to who we are, maybe at the deepest level, coming back to source, the sense of centering that we come into. As a biodynamic craniosacral practitioner myself, I can relate to this sense of relating to the stillness that comes, and then that also kind of includes this movement, like whatever needs to be brought forth by this natural intelligence of life, this natural movement, and allowing for that to happen. Like there isn't that doing, there's just this coming into this being. And I think that first step, I think, which may be there, and I'm hearing that also in the whirling and the Gurdjieff movements, the first step of touching in, of centering and holding that ground. And I'm wondering whether you can say a bit more about what does that mean in terms of to come into one center.
So I like to quote Gurdjieff here. That was really my first experience with any kind of spiritual discipline. I accidentally stumbled upon whirling, and I was a dancer, so whirling came easy to me. So just a depth of the spirituality in whirling came to me as I matured. But the Gurdjieff work, one of the first things that I understood is he asked the question, what is attention? And really, we need to think about this. What is attention? He explains that attention is energy. It's just energy. It's pure energy. Where do you want to put this energy? Where do you want to place it? Right? So if we look that attention is just energy that's available for us to choose how we use it, how we place it, and we bring this to the understanding of centering, and centering for me is inviting all of this energy that's available inside, in me, gathered together, not scattered, not wavering, but really present, so that from this center I can reach out in all directions, in an equal way. If I have to reach out to the world from this center, I'm reaching out in wholeness, in oneness. When I come back in completeness. I'm not leaving my attention and energy there and coming back here halfway. And, I'm with you in this conversation, but my mind is on the kitchen and the breakfast. And no, I'm really fully here. And to be fully here, I'm just inviting all the attention, all of the energy to gather in and be present. So that's what centering is. And these different, all of these different modalities that I do require a lot of centering, as you said yourself. That starting point has to be from in here.
And even as you're speaking about centering, one can feel that sense of being. And yeah, and it's so good that you have this long-standing exploration which you can bring to others, because so much of it is also received in the resonance. And that's what I would invite people just listening to also tune into that sense that's coming through the words, even if we still haven't experienced this work. And maybe at some level we do know what that is, to come into ourselves, to have that sense, like you're saying, of gathering. And both as a biodynamic practitioner, as a mindfulness practitioner, I can relate to that it's like then that from there that the work happens. And when we say the work, maybe you can call it healing, you can call it reorganization, you can call it, gathering back to oneself, being fully oneself. And I'm just wondering if we can kind of like look at as to what is it that happens in this work,
I like that you're calling it the work, because Gurdjieff also called it the work. And he very clearly said, you don't do the work happens. So the work was not about those really difficult, mind-blowing, mind-blasting Gurdjieff choreographies or getting it. It wasn't about that. It was about the work that's happening inside, the work of inner transformation that's happening inside. That was called the work. And that happens, you don't do it. In craniosacral, in the biodynamic process, as the intelligence of the body starts to unfold, we call it something happens, right? You remember that. Something happens. And in whirling, again, it's a similar thing. Like once you just let go and surrender, all the poets who whirl said, something makes you whirl. So I think that over the years, I've been a body practitioner, right? Through dance and also through therapeutics. So learning about the body in science and learning about the body in spirituality has been, very nourishing for me also. It's brought so many insights. I can no longer look at the body only from a scientific lens or only from a spiritual lens. They kind of come together. And that's why my sacred dances and my therapeutic work is really blending in together now, because something's moved together for me. And from that perspective, what I recognize is, look at the design of the body. And the design of the body is, this body is an instrument that is designed to facilitate health, that is designed for regeneration, that is designed to function in optimum capacity. And it's the optimum potential that is in the design of the body. So it's not going to design to break down. It's designed to keep moving and evolving. It's an instrument of evolving consciousness. And very simply, if we just take the principle of centering and gathering all our energy in, our physical center is also our spine. Therefore, the spine becomes our reorganizing point. Around the spine, everything reorganizes. processes. The spine is also our central nervous system. It's where the cerebrospinal fluid is flowing. It's the highest known element in the body. It's the carrier of intelligence. As we center in, either through whirling or sacred dance or with craniosacral work, as we're coming into the spine, we are getting in touch with intelligence that is designed to maintain this body, not only physically, but also emotionally and intellectually and spiritually, and keep us connected to the mystical dimensions, which we know not about, but we come from. And I feel that all of this is held in this very physical body, right in there. And yeah, the healing can come from any gateway. It can come from the gateway of spirituality or emotions or intellect or physical. Whatever the brokenness is a gateway for deeper healing and deeper evolving. And it really comes when we sink in and settle in, tap in to the intelligent potential within our system. That's already sitting there.
Yeah, this orientation to already what's here, what's whole. In biodynamic terms, this orientation to health, and which is not looking at even when we are seeing our brokenness or our, it's not seeing it through that lens, but it's really seeing it from this sense of wholeness that's already this intelligence that's already here working through. And I guess we have a greater clarity or being in touch with it through all of these modalities. And as you're talking about it, and I'm more attuned more to the stillness part of it, right? Because the sitting meditations are about sitting, and so is even in biodynamic. And it's quite fascinating for me to see the polarity of stillness and movement, and it coming together. Like it's one can lead to the other, and within stillness there's also movement. And you were just saying that in very practical ways also in everyday life, of how when we are connected to our center and source, and then from there we can move in whatever direction we want. So I'm just wondering if you can talk about this relationship maybe between movement and stillness, and how you see that.
I think it's imperative that when we look at stillness, we have to look at motion. It's like if we look at the center, you cannot ignore the periphery. At the same time, if you look at the periphery, you have to see the center. If you look at movement and motion, you have to see the stillness, because stillness is the fulcrum of motion. If we have organized motion, if we have disorganized motion, there is no fulcrum, therefore there is no stillness, therefore it's very chaotic and it's not a good space to experience, right? And I'm saying this in any regard in life, motion in any regard. Look at it in a traffic space. If all the cars are moving in a very linear way, we have discipline as a fulcrum, we have the traffic lights as a fulcrum, and everything's going organized, it's not so stressful. But when we have a traffic jam and everything's all over, so that's chaotic movement, and that's very disruptive. We feel the disruption of it in our body. So any kind of movement, if it is organized, it's got a fulcrum, and that fulcrum is stillness. And you see it in the formation of our galaxies. There is always a center around which everything is organized. So in our solar system, we have the sun, which is the fulcrum, and all the planets move around it. in our earth, we have an axis around which the earth is turning. In a wheel, we have the center around which the wheel can turn. So if we want an organized motion, then we need to start with a fulcrum of stillness. Stillness, let's say a fulcrum is a point in space around which motion organizes itself. We remove the fulcrum and the motion is not going to know how to organize itself. The same way with health. So health is organized. It's organized form, it's organized intelligence. And to tap into health, we need to come into stillness. Health is, the manifestation of intelligence that is into form and matter and what we do and our expression that is coming from a stillness. And the same in dance, like whirling is one of the most profound ways to experience stillness and motion in your body at the same time. So when we start turning, even if I'm someone who does not know what is stillness, I've never meditated in my entire life, I don't know how to sit still, I'm really restless, and I say, come, whirl, don't bother sitting down, just come and whirl, just make sure that you are doing the same turning, maintain the speed, keep it organized, don't go all over the place. And just by this repetitive movement, because the movement is organized, it starts to create a center, which is stillness. So we can approach stillness by organized motion, or we can organize haphazard motion by getting still. And that's how I think that's a really beautiful dynamic relationship between motion and stillness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful that we can enter through any way, and we can hold both together. So, Zia, it would be really nice. I also want to let everyone know that you will be there also for the Self as Presence conference in December, where you will be having sessions on all of these, on this kind of meditative form of movement through whirling, through the Gurdjeiff movements, and also you'll be offering a session on biodynamic craniosacral therapy for anyone interested in learning about health and the biodynamic. So thank you so much for actually this lovely conversation. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Thank you. It was lovely sharing. And all the sessions will be interactive and experiential. So it will be nice to have everyone come and explore and experience it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Looking forward. Thank you.